So hi there, my name is Lilka and I seduce life by romanticizing femininity and spiritual magnetism. If that sounds like something that would call to you, please, you are very welcome to join me here on YouTube. And you can also find me on Instagram and on TikTok by lilkaaphrodite. So what I brought you today is a very special and magnetic quality that a very few women and actually a very few people possess. It's close to magic, definitely, but it's even closer to a craft you can master. And if you want to be iconic and irresistible and almost immortalized, if you want to create an unforgettable effect and presence in seduction or just in life, then this is essential to master. I would call this practice creating your own visual altar in other people's minds. Robert Greene also talks about this in The Art of Seduction, which I highly recommend, by the way. And he phrases it as associate yourself with carefully curated objects, meaning have things that are so distinctively you that they remind every one of you in a deep, unconscious, and almost magical level. You know you have mastered this when you have people showing things to you and saying, "This reminded me of you," or "This is so you." And what they show you is actually feels like a visual representation of your essence and your soul. And this is what we are really longing for, all of us, to capture the very essence of ourselves outside of ourselves, in objects, in symbols, in images. And the more you master this, the more it will work like a spell. You become present without actually physically being there. A godlike figure, maybe. Friends will see something on a vacation and bring it home to you. Or an old lover will look at something years later and they will feel you. The psychology behind this is that we connect deeply with symbols on an emotional and subconscious level. And every symbol carries many, many endless layers and meanings added from culture and art, paintings, literature, history, past icons, and just your own personal memories, And as humans, we turn to these symbols and try to turn the ungraspable things into symbols so we can feel like we can hold them. But these things, just like you, can never be fully understood or owned. And this is exactly what creates the longing and the yearning and the desire that is impossible to forget. So, how do we create this visual altar? I will share my insights in two parts: inner things and outer things. Let's start with outer things, which is your physical appearance. You need to have a signature look, and it has to come from your innermost essence. It won't work any other way. And actually, there are studies that show that the most iconic people in history and in our culture can be identified solely by 2 or 3 of their features. For example, Marilyn Monroe, for me, the most iconic and magnetic woman ever in history. She can be identified solely by her beauty mark, her platinum blonde hair, and her bright, big red lips, and her smile. And men can master this too. Think of Salvador Dali and how we can identify him only by his iconic mustache. You can test this theory on your own icons or even on people around you. For example, my sister, who is absolutely iconic, she can be reduced to her short black hair and the way she draws her eyebrows. Your goal is to eventually find or create your own unique set of features. And do not build your iconic look and signature look on trends. Let it be timeless and ethereal and uniquely yours. Don't try to morph your features into the current beauty standard, because that is a fleeting thing and it has nothing to do with being iconic, believe me. Instead, just study yourself really deeply and embrace what is already there and what you already love about yourself. And I would also add that don't change your natural essence by force. If you look like Elle Fanning, don't try to be Alexa Demie. Or if you are Monica Bellucci, don't try to be a Grace Kelly. Both beautiful and totally different. And just if you are pale, don't try to be tan. If you have soft features, don't try to be sharp and intimidating. For me, Anya Taylor-Joy is a perfect example of this. She has these beautiful, big doe eyes, and she doesn't try to balance them out. She emphasizes them and just directs attention towards them. And you should do the same. When creating your signature look, you can study icons, people you find ethereal and beautiful and magnetic, but let it be an inspiration and not an imitation. Remember, no one became iconic by copying someone else. For example, again, Marilyn Monroe. Her look was inspired by Jean Harlow, another blonde bombshell of the previous generation, but she modified and evolved it to be so uniquely hers. Once you find your signature look, stick with it, really. Magnetism always deepens with consistency and with time, and almost with, repetition that feels almost reverent in a way. Pick your thing and stay loyal to it to the grave. Really. I have a friend who mastered this. She's absolutely iconic and gorgeous, very, very different from me, but I rarely see her in any other color than black, and I have never, ever in my life seen her without her red lipstick, like not once, and that is iconic. Icons can evolve, of course, they have rebirths, but they never abandon their innermost essence, the thing that we have already talked about. Dita Von Teese, for example, who is also very iconic and very glamorous, she have found her thing, her look, the raven pin-up curls and the pale skin and the corsets and the glamorous style and her manicure. She has this complete look and she sticks to it, really. She evolves, but she never abandons her essence. Ariana Grande, on the other hand, she is not iconic in this sense for me, because in every era she morphs into a completely different person, and you wouldn't really be able to tell who she really is, what her essence or her soul is like. It's not good or bad, it's just an observation. Now, let's talk about the inner things. Your actions, your personality, your presence. Own every little uniqueness. Every single one of them, really. Your gestures, your walk, your movements, your tone of voice, your catchphrases. These are your treasures, and they tell tales about you without words. People notice them. They really notice them, even if they don't consciously comment on it. And please don't smooth out your contradictions. On the contrary, again, embrace them. Marilyn, again, the essence of her charm lived in her doe-eyed innocence, paired with that magnetic, bold sexuality. So this contrast is everything. That is what creates attraction and wonder, and something that they can never fully understand or put in a box, and just it's the thing that makes people wonder about you. And finally, I would like to talk about a third thing, which is kind of the most important one, and also maybe the hardest to master, because you have to know yourself in a very, very deep level for this. Beyond appearance and personality, you need your own set of symbols. Think of yourself as a goddess. What would be on your altar? You don't need many of these symbols, just a handful, but they have to be very carefully chosen. Treat them as a collection. You can refine them, you can upgrade them, you can add to them with time, but the essence of them again stays the same. Often these symbols follow us throughout our whole lives, so look for them in your childhood maybe, and in your own memories. They can really be anything: a color, a flower, a signature scent, a place, or even a physical object, like a deck of cards, or an old handheld mirror, or a piece of jewelry that you really love. I have 2 rings and a necklace with several pendants on it, and I never take these off. I don't have a single picture without them. If you ask me what they mean, I might tell you. Probably I won't, but they tell tales about me without words, definitely. Be very, very specific about your symbols. That is the key to this thing. It won't work unless you know why you are this thing and not that other thing. For example, if you think what color you would be, don't just say pink. I would be pink, but I am not Barbie pink. I am the baby pink of a satin ballet shoes, or the blushed cheeks of a lover. And my last little tip, the crown jewel of all of this, is once you have your essence, your look, your symbols, your rituals, your thing, be mysterious about it. People will see the finished masterpiece, they will be attracted to it, they will feel drawn to it, but they don't need to know the process. They don't need to see the down-to-earth practical aspects of your magnetism and your magic. Be ethereal and be just so light about all of this. Like, create the impression that you were just born out of thin air and emerged from the sea in a shell, just in this exact form. And never, ever share your secrets, big or small. Just let them wander. Well, if this spoke to you or inspired you, I would love to hear your thoughts, and please stay a little longer with me. You can subscribe here on YouTube, and you can also find me on TikTok and on Instagram by lilkaaphrodite. You can join me there. Until then, be your own muse and seduce life.